Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another Kindle Unlimited recommendations video. I like to start off these videos by saying, of course, I don't like supporting Amazon, and I'm sure many of you don't, but unfortunately Kindle Unlimited is just one of the best places to get such a wide variety of books at a very affordable price. I don't have the money to go out and buy books all the time, and sometimes the library doesn't have the books that you are wanting to read, and they do end up on Kindle Unlimited. But I did see somewhere that if you read enough during the month, you can actually cancel it out so that Amazon ends up losing money from your Kindle Unlimited subscription. So you pay the monthly price and they pay the authors based off of the number of pages read. So if you're reading enough pages during the month, then Amazon is paying those authors more than they are getting from your subscription price. I think it's a good bit that you have to read like 2,000 something pages, but that's just a couple of books, and then you're not really giving Amazon money, right? Anyways, however we feel about Amazon, let's get that out of the way. Kindle Unlimited has so many great recommendations, and in this video, clearly we are going to be talking about horror. So if you are here because you are participating in Indie April and you want some indie recs, that is what we are going to start with, the indie horror recs that are on Kindle Unlimited. So basically how I do these videos is I have just a bunch of tabs open on the computer. Not all of these books I know what they are about. I surely have not read all of them, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. This is not like a personal recommendation. This is just me letting you know all of the different titles that are available on Kindle Unlimited, okay? So the first one that I have open is called The Library of Endless Doors. This is by Ephraim Vale. Deep in the misty valley beyond Black Hollow, where the world forgets its oldest tales, there is a peace that shouldn't exist. A library with no entrance, no exit, only endless doors. And each door leads to a story that was never meant to be read. Lucian Vale, a historian obsessed with uncovering forbidden knowledge, has spent his life chasing the impossible. When he discovers a book that knows his name, he is drawn into the legend of the Library of Endless Doors, a place where books are more than ink and paper, they are living worlds. To me, this sounds more like sci-fi fantasy, but it is listed in here as horror. The next one we have is Creature of Lake Shadow by Michael Cole. This one says, it was supposed to be a simple bank robbery. Quick, clean, efficient. It was none of those. With police searching for them across the state, a band of criminals hide out in a desolate cabin on the frozen shore of Lake Shadow. Isolated, shrouded in thick forest, and haunted by a mysterious history, they thought it was the perfect place to hide. Tensions mount as they hear strange noises outside. Slain animals are found in the snow. Before long, they realize something is watching them. Something hungry, violent, and not of this world. In their attempt to escape, they found the Creature of Lake Shadow. So, it sounds interesting. The cover of this I think is really interesting. It's definitely giving me like some freaky ocean water horror vibes, and I really like that. Love me a good creature feature. Next, I want to talk about Felix Blackwell, who is the author of one of my favorite horror books, Stolen Tongues, which is available on Kindle Unlimited. This is news to me. I guess he has a second book out now on Kindle Unlimited. This is called The Church Beneath the Roots. So it says long before the events of Stolen Tongues. So I guess this is maybe like a prequel. On the Cold Valley Indian Reservation in the shadow of Pale Peak, Onwe Lopez struggles with the past as much as the present. By day, he watches his people abandon the old way as they flock to the local church. By night, he dreams of his childhood friend, Acantha, who vanished from the res decades prior. Then, catastrophe strikes. A horrific accident brings a stranger to town with stories of unfathomable death. A ghastly figure wanders the night, peering into houses and terrorizing a tribal elder. Hideous whispers emanate from the nearby caves, beckoning Onwe inside and promising to return everyone he's lost. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. Stolen Tongues, one of my favorite elements of that was the creature in there and just the way that story is written, because it started on the No Sleep Reddit. So this one, I guess, is kind of a prequel to it and has to do with the same type of horror and a type of creature, which I really love. I will definitely be picking this one up eventually. Next up, we have In the Tall Trees by Angel Van Ada. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Mela lives in a tiny house in the middle of a dense forest with her mommy and her baby brother, Pete. Sometimes her daddy comes with him, often the bad man comes as well. Mela knows that she, her mommy, and little brother are a secret family living where nobody knows they are, but she can't remember why that is or why her mommy is chained to the floor. In the Tall Trees is a story told through the eyes of our little hero as she must brave what's out there, lurking in the shadows to save all that she knows and loves in the world. Next up, of course, I can't talk about Kindle Unlimited and indie horror without mentioning one of my favorite authors ever, David Sodergren. So pretty much all of his books are available on Kindle Unlimited. My personal favorite is The Har. I think that is his most popular as well. I've read a few of his other ones. This one is his newest release. This just came out last December. This is called Summer of the Monsters. Monsters aren't real. That's what 16-year-old Lucy Brannigan has always believed until, broke and desperate, she and her father moved to an isolated farmhouse in the small Scottish town of Helsbridge. It's their last chance and they have to make it work. For Lucy, life appears to be over. With no friends and surrounded by miles of thick woodland, there's nothing to do. But why did the previous occupants leave their belongings behind? And why is their new home surrounded by dozens of scarecrows? And worst of all, what is the cause of the horrifying screams that wake her in the night? So this kind of blends like a creature feature and isolated setting with a coming of age story, and I know if David Sodergren wrote it that it's gonna be good, so I will definitely be picking this one up. Hopefully this month I can read it for Indie April. The next thing I want to talk about is actually a book series. I have not read any of these, but I've had my eye on a few of them for some time. I've heard really, really good things about these books. This is the Dark Earth Rising series by Deborah Castaneda. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. There is 6 books in this series. So we have The Root Witch, which is a beautiful forest, a terrifying legend. It's 1986. 2 strangers, hundreds of miles apart, grapple with disturbing incidents in a one-of-a-kind quaking aspen forest. Then we have The Devil's Shallows, 8 miles of mystery, 1 night of terror. Residents trapped in a remote neighborhood confront the unimaginable. Circus at Devil's Landing, creatures that howl in the night, a mysterious circus, and a clash between a ringmaster and a woman determined to rescue her captured lover. This is the origin story of the creatures in The Devil's Shallows. That's interesting. Then we have The Copper Man, haunted tunnels, unexplained deaths, eerie sightings. Decades after the Copper Man killed her brother, Leah Shaw returns to the remote mining town of Tribulation Gulch where a lethal mystery awaits. Then there is A Dark and Rising Tide. When a massive storm surge hits the central coast of California, the ferocious surf destroys buildings, floods streets, and washes up something sinister from the depths of Monterey Bay. And then the last one in this series is called The Spore Queen. A charming reporter, an ailing tech mogul, is that how you say that word? And 2 strangers hiding secrets are brought together by a mysterious fungus, one that will either save them or destroy them. That sounds really interesting. The 2 specifically that I've had my eye on for a while is The Root Witch and A Dark and Rising Tide. I think The Spore Queen sounds really interesting as well. Next we have a book called Creatures. This is by David Burkett. When the personal plane of a highly ranked Brazilian cabinet member and his family disappears in the Amazon, a search and rescue helicopter records evidence of a massive anomaly in the jungle. Doc Morrison, a renowned geologist, is calling in to help investigate what could be the collapse of the largest cavern known to man. Doc and his graduate student prodigies, Libby and Peter, join a team from Brazil to explore the site. Deep in the remote jungles of South America, the team, including an elite unit of Brazilian soldiers, is soon set upon by creatures none of them could have ever imagined. This one is 216 pages, and I think it just has a really striking cover. The next one we have is A Lovely Dark and Deep by Megan Stockton. This says, every year, 6 Mile Island has a seasonal shutdown for serious weather. This year, the forecast is calling for the storm of a century, so most of the population has agreed to an evacuation in order to more safely ride out the storm on the mainland. When a child goes missing on the cusp of the oceanic storm, a select few inhabitants are left behind to perform a frantic search. Little do they know that the ocean is bringing more than a storm to 6 Mile. An ancient species hungers from the sea. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. This is 175 pages, and I think I might have to read that one because it sounds pretty good. Next up, I have 2 books by this author, Abe Moss. The first book is called A Ghost Arrives. After losing his job and moving back home with his elderly father, Wallace Harper discovers something else has taken up residence in his childhood home, something that only shows its face when the sun goes down. What starts as an eerie game of phantom footsteps and voices in the dark soon turns sinister when Wallace's sister, Rachel, discovers she too is being stalked by a malevolent force. With danger looming on their doorstep, Wallace and Rachel soon find themselves ensnared in a violent plot of family secrets and deep wounds that never healed. The other book that I have saved by Abe Moss is called Morsels. This says, Connie can't deny she's nervous about meeting her boyfriend's family. Spending the weekend at their ritzy woodland summer home, Evan's already given her fair warning that his parents are cold, snobbish, and especially unpleasant toward those outside their usual social circles. So when Evan's mother warmly greets them with open arms, Connie is as confused as he is. Evan's parents are nothing like he described. They're so friendly, in fact, Evan himself can hardly believe they're real. Then, while helping Evan's mother with dinner preparations, Connie overhears strange noises coming from the basement. What almost sound like voices calling out for help. That sounds really, really interesting. Then we have Daughter's Drawings by Nick Botic or Nick Botic. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this. I actually just finished reading this one. This started on the No Sleep subreddit as well. It was during a pit stop at a rural diner that we heard these words. I think someone broke into your car. It began the years-long terror that would change our lives forever. Someone had indeed broken into our car, but they had ignored the laptops and tablets and luggage. All they took was our daughter's most prized possession, a folder full of her artwork. We didn't know what to think when Katie's work started coming back to us, one slightly amended piece of art at a time. But when this connoisseur of our 6-year-old daughter's creations began bringing the subjects of her drawings to life in twisted, disturbing ways, we knew that we were dealing with a danger worse than any of us could have ever imagined. Next, we have Children of the Dark by Jonathan Jans. It says book 1 of 2 in a series. 15-year-old Will Burgess is used to rough times. Abandoned by his father, son of a drug-addicted mother, and charged with raising his 6-year-old sister, Will has far more to worry about than most high school freshmen. To make matters worse, Mia Samuels, the girl of Will's dreams, is dating his worst enemy, the cruelest upperclassman at Shadeland High. Will's troubles, however, are just beginning, because one of the nation's most notorious criminals, the Moonlight Killer, has escaped from prison and is headed straight towards Will's hometown. And something else is lurking in Savage Hollow, the forest surrounding Will's rundown house, something ancient and infinitely evil. So there's a serial killer and an ancient evil creature and also the horrors of being a teenager. I'm going to try to run through these a little bit quicker, so I'm not going to read the full synopsis for everything anymore, but this is Ancient Enemy by Mark Lukens. It says, Ancient Enemy, it's been asleep for centuries and now it's awake. It wants things and you have to give it what it wants. ... Then we have Black Fox, an indigenous horror novel by Jack Moffat. What if moving into your dream home turned into a nightmare? A single mother must face an ancient evil in this non-stop edge-of-your-seat thriller in order to save her family and humanity at large. This sounds really, really interesting. I love indigenous horror, so I will definitely be picking this one up at some point. Then we have Sugar by Mia Ballard. Love, betrayal, murder, and witchcraft. For fans of a certain hunger, step into the twisted psychedelic world of Sugar, a story about a femme fatale hooked on love and acid, in this gripping tale of 1970s suburban chaos where nothing is as it seems. I've heard this one is unhinged, and I'm definitely going to be reading it this month. Next, we have Video Night by Adam Caesar. I don't know how you pronounce it, but you might know him as the author of Clown in a Cornfield. So this is an alien horror novel. Who better to repel a body-snatching alien invasion than a group of teenage horror nerds? So this is about some kids who try and fight the alien infection that's taken hold over their suburban town. Next is Camp Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. This is a trilogy of 3 books. It's a local legend. No one is sure if this Camp Slaughter place is real or not, but a group of college kids renting out a cabin deep in the woods of Pennsylvania will soon realize the truth. They'll realize the danger too, or rather the cannibal out in the woods will bring the danger to them. I've been wanting to read that one for a long time, and I will get to it eventually, I promise. Next, we have A Dark Rue by Blaine Daigle. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I have read one book from this author before. This says, beneath the black waters of the Louisiana Bayou hides a world of dark mysticism, a world steeped in superstition and the decay of family legacies. A world Rhiannon LeBeau thought she'd left behind 15 years ago after a summer of tragedy and horror. Next, we have Beta, A Technological Nightmare by Sammy Scott. I've been wanting to read this one for a while. It says, fans of Black Mirror and Ex Machina will find plenty to fear in this tale of a smart home with a monkey paw mission to give its occupant whatever he desires. Yet, like the best suspense, Beta is also infinitely human. Next up is a book called The Thirst by Flint Maxwell. Everyone in the village felt it. Everyone in the village dreaded it. But it was time. The monster had awakened and it was hungry. So it's kind of giving like a vampire, but like, I don't know, maybe it only awakens every however many years. Next we have On a Clear Day You Can See Block Island by Gage Greenwood. The one-liner for this says, it is a coming-of-age horror novel about grief, PTSD, and how some horrors never end. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this, but I have seen a few reviews for it that were pretty positive, so I definitely want to pick that one up. Next is Demonic by Jeff Strand. Corey is falling in love with his coworker Quinn. This is a problem, not only because Quinn is married, but because her husband is a serial killer known as the Toledo Trasher, who has been forcing her to participate in his savage crimes. Okay. I had no clue that's what this book was about, but that sounds really interesting. Next is The North Woods by Douglas Hoover. Over 3 million acres of dense woodlands make up the North Maine woods. There are no major towns, no public roads, nothing but forest as far as the eye can see. And it mentions something else that lurks in the shadows of the pines, something ancient, savage, and hungry. I love some good, like, creature feature in the woods horror. Next is In My Father's Basement, a serial killer novel by TJ Payne, who is the author of Intercepts, which is also available on Kindle Unlimited and a favorite horror book of mine. This one, though, it says, out of nowhere, a retired 60-year-old handyman goes on a murder spree, abducting healthy young people and torturing them with hand tools. I will definitely read this at some point. Don't know when, but I will. Next, the one that I have pulled up is called They Came from the Ocean, but this is a part of a 5-book collection called Creature Encounters by Boris Basic, I think is how you say it. So this one focuses on the ocean. It says, exploring the bottom of the ocean is scary. It's worse when something down there is stalking you. And that's all I need to hear because I'm already freaked out by the depths of the ocean and the things that might be in there. This looks like another ocean horror. This is called The Cavern by Alistair Hodge. When a sinkhole opens up near the Australian outback town of Pintalba, it uncovers a pristine cave system. Sam joins an expedition to explore the subterranean passages as paramedic support, hoping to remain unneeded at base camp. But when one of the cavers is injured, he must overcome paralyzing claustrophobia to dive pitch black waters and squeeze through the bowels of the earth. Absolutely not. No. People that go like caving like that, first of all, in like dry caves, you're insane. Doing it underwater, are you out of your mind? So I will definitely be reading that book because I think it will freak me out for sure. Next, we have Flowers in Her Bones by J.R. Erickson, which once again I'm just learning is part of a 10-book collection called Troubled Spirits. So it says that this can be read as a standalone. I think they all can, maybe. A standalone paranormal murder mystery inspired by a disturbing true story. This maybe might lean more thriller than horror, but I threw it in here anyways. Then we have The Suffering by M.J. Mars. It was a suffering like no other, and oh, how they suffered. So this looks like a haunted house paranormal story. I don't know. Now that I'm reading about it, I don't know if I want to read it, but if this is the type of horror that you are into, then go ahead and pick it up and tell me if it's worth it. The next one is called Moribund by Jennifer Osborne. It doesn't really sound like horror heavy to me, but it is listed as a horror book. It said it is a haunting and heartbreaking tale of a mother desperate to protect her child while fighting to make sense of the world unraveling around her. Next up, we have Commodore by Philip Fracassi. Philip Fracassi is an author I have enjoyed before, and I'm just seeing that Boys in the Valley by him is now available on Kindle Unlimited. I don't think it was before. That is a 5-star horror book for me. Highly recommend it. This one says there is a legend in the town of Sabbath that tells of a haunted car lost somewhere in the local junkyard. Young Jim Honeycutt and his friends have decided that they're going to find it today. Unfortunately for them, they do. What does that mean? I don't know. And lastly, for the indie recommendations, I just wanted to talk about some short stories and short story collections. So this first one is Disseverment by Z.C. Kroll. When Tyler receives a mysterious letter in the mail from a man claiming to be his stepfather, he is suddenly plunged back into the nightmares of his past and has to make an important decision that will change him forever. Then we have The Gatherings, an apocalyptic horror short story by Jeremy Ray. The Gatherings were supposed to bring world peace. What they brought was the apocalypse. Then we have a short story collection from Beyond the Threshold, which is described as a cosmic horror anthology. This next short story collection is called Suburban Monsters by Christopher Hawkins. At turns whimsical and somber, but always unsettling, this debut collection of short horror stories is essential reading from a rising voice in dark literary fiction. And lastly, for the indie section, we have Gorgasm, Seductively Scary Stories. Gorgasm is an anthology of the hot and the horrifying, the sexy and the scary, the titillating and the terrifying. Featuring 30 stories from over 20 authors, Gorgasm contains the most vile tales of lust the human mind can conjure. So now we are moving on to the non-indie recommendations. So these are some horror books that maybe you've heard of before, and they are available for you to read on Kindle Unlimited. I'm going to try to go through these a little bit quicker because it takes a long time to sit down and read the synopsis for every single book. So the first one is I Am Legend. I'm sure a lot of us know what this story is from the movie. This is about the last man standing after a vampire apocalypse occurs. Also by Richard Matheson is Hell House, which is a haunted house novel that has inspired a lot of other haunted house stories in popular media. Next is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This one has a sequel as well, and the third book just got announced. Both 1 and 2 are on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm sure that means the third one will be as soon as that's out. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, so it's gothic, it's got mushrooms in it. That's it. That's all you have to know. Next is Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. This one I have read and I really, really enjoy. This is about a woman who is a sexual abuser of men, and you are reading a lot about those, so this is definitely one you have to use caution before going into. It has a mixed media element to it, which was really, really fun, and overall a really, really good message, but it is not for the faint of heart. Next, I want to talk about Robert McCammon. He has like almost every single book of his, it seems like, is on Kindle Unlimited. I have only read one. I've read Swan Song, which is an apocalyptic horror book. It is over 900 pages, but it's really, really good. The other really popular one by him is Boy's Life, which I have not read. Obviously, it says, a bizarre murder in an idyllic southern town propels a boy and his father into a world of evil in this World Fantasy Award-winning horror novel. So I would definitely love to read more from this author, and he has quite the selection available on Kindle Unlimited. Next up, we have Night's Edge by Liz Karen, and this also has a second book called First Light. This is a vampire book that is described as a blood-soaked novel about the darkest secrets we hide and how monstrous we can be to the ones we love most. The next one is The Butterfly Garden. I am learning so many of these are in series. This says it is book 1 of 4 in the series called The Collector. So I guess this is about a garden near an isolated mansion, and there is a collection of butterflies within the garden, and each of the butterflies represents a woman who has been kidnapped. I don't know. I've heard some really, really good things about this though, so I definitely want to pick it up eventually. You'll have to bear with me on this because I don't know how to pronounce this author's name. This is Hex by Thomas Old Huvelt. This is a small town horror story that has a legend of the Black Rock Witch. So it kind of has some occult elements. I've wanted to read this one for a really long time. I just have not gotten around to it yet. How many times am I going to say that about some of these books? I don't know. The next author that I want to highlight is Anya Allborn. I've read a few of her books and have really, really enjoyed them. Her book Brother is probably one of my favorite horror novels. She is great at writing these just devastating and horrifying books. This one that was the first one that I came across was called The Devil Crept In. This says it is a small town horror where a boy investigates the mysterious disappearance of his cousin and uncovers a terrifying secret kept hidden for years. So I don't think every single one of her books is available on Kindle Unlimited, but a large amount of them are, and I would highly recommend it. Whichever one you want to start with, read something from her. I really, really love her work. Next, we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is described as a dark fantasy that spins the gothic, seductive tale of Dracula's first bride, Constanta? I don't know how you say that. So it's gothic, vampires. I don't really know. I know I've heard a lot of good things about it. I have not personally read this one though. The battery is getting close to dying, so we'll see how many we can get through. The next one is Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones, which is a novella I have not read. I love Stephen Graham Jones though, and I've heard this one has a lot to do with mental health, and it's maybe kind of like what is the word I'm looking for? Like psychological, but like also kind of mind-bending, I guess, like slightly confusing to the reader at some points. Then we have Jack Ketchum, Off Season, Offspring, and The Girl Next Door are all on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm sure a few other of his books as well. I read Off Season and it was just okay for me. I probably won't go on to read the sequel. The Girl Next Door is one of those books that I will never read, just for personal reasons, but if that's something that you are into, then you can go and check those books out. This next one is one of my all-time favorite horror books, and also, fun fact, if I had to choose my #1 favorite book cover ever, it would be this book, This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. The one-liner for this says, "It is a bold, original horror novel about grief, loneliness, and oppressive intimacy of technology. This thing between us marks the arrival of a spectacular new talent." Yes, read it. That's all you have to know. Then we have The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, the classic tale of supernatural obsession from the critically acclaimed Master of Darkness and the inspiration for the cult classic film Hellraiser. Would you guys kill me if I said I've never seen that movie and I've also never read the book? Yeah, I need to get on that. Next up, I don't know if this book is technically classified when you look at the genre as horror, but to me it's horror because it's literally traumatizing. This is Tampa by Alyssa Nutting. This is a female teacher that we are following who has an attraction to young boys, so we are inside her mind as she is preying on her students, and it is fucked up. It does not hold back. Like I said, literally traumatizing, but so well written. I give it 5 stars, of course, and it did not leave my mind for months after reading it. Years. It's been years since I've read it, and it is still like fresh in my mind. I'm like, damn, that book was fucked up. I have heard the same thing said about this book, but I have not read it yet. This is Where I End by Sophie White, winner of the Shirley Jackson Award, a modern gothic horror where a young woman falls into a dark obsession after a new artist and her baby arrive on her small Irish island. I don't know. I've heard it's kind of gross and messed up, so I love that. Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpson is available on Kindle Unlimited as well. This describes itself as weaving horror and Celtic myth into a terrifying, heartbreaking, supernatural tale of fractured family bonds, the secrets we carry, and the veiled forces that guide Irish life. The next author we can touch on is Brom. Brom has a lot of books on Kindle Unlimited. There is Slewfoot, there is Evil in Me, there is this one that is called Lost Gods. This says a young man descends into purgatory to save his wife and unborn child in this gorgeous illustrated tale of wonder and terror from the mind of master storyteller and acclaimed artist Brom. Listen, don't kill me again. I have not read anything from Brom yet. I really want to. The camera died, but I was saying the fact that these are on Kindle Unlimited, of course, makes it so much easier for me to pick them up and read them. But I'm kind of nervous to read them on Kindle because they are all illustrated and I don't know how well that will come through. But if you're somebody who maybe doesn't really care too much about that, then these are all available for you to read. Next, we have Suffer the Children by Craig DeLuey. A mysterious disease claims the world's children before bringing them back. To continue surviving, however, they need to ingest human blood. As the blood supply wanes, parents struggle and compete to keep their children alive. I have read this one a few years ago. I thought it was really interesting and I would definitely recommend it. Next is a sort of newer release that everybody's been loving. I thought it was just okay. This is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. Crying in H Mart meets My Sister the Serial Killer in this feminist psychological horror about the making of a female serial killer from a Korean American perspective. It's gross and kind of crazy. Also gross and kind of crazy, I am just learning that Maeve Fly and American Rapture by CJ Lead are both available on Kindle Unlimited as well. I read both of these. I really enjoyed one of them, really didn't enjoy the other one. American Rapture is her newest release. This is about a virus spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. Next is Walking Practice, an underrated favorite of mine. More people need to read this book. This is by Dolky Min, translated by Victoria Caudle. This is described as Squid Game meets The Left Hand of Darkness meets Under the Skin in this radical literary sensation from South Korea about an alien's hunt for food that transforms into an existential crisis about what it means to be human. This book is great. It's got illustrations in it as well. Please read this one for me. Next, we have Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. I have read this one, but I'm gonna read Paul Tremblay's blurb to describe it to you guys. It pits the coolest and most unlikely bounty hunters against an old-time religious cult and the ickiest creation this side of John Carpenter's The Thing. Fun, nasty, smart, and scary, and in all the right places. Thank you, Paul Tremblay, for saying it because I couldn't. Next, we have Diavola. I still don't remember how I'm supposed to pronounce this one. Jennifer Thorne skewers the all too familiar family dynamics in this sly, wickedly funny vacation gothic. Beautifully unhinged and deeply satisfying, Diavola is a sharp twist on the classic haunted house story, exploring loneliness, belonging, and the seemingly inescapable bonds of family mythology. And last but not least, I just wanted to mention some short stories and short story collections that you guys can read on Kindle Unlimited. To throw it back a little bit, we have The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, which is a classic feminist horror. This is 32 pages, available to read on Kindle Unlimited, and I would highly recommend that you do. Short story collections, we have Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung, a wildly original debut from a rising star of Korean literature, surreal, chilling fables that take on the patriarchy, capitalism, and the reign of big tech with absurdist humor and sometimes literal bite. And the second short story collection that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. Roxane Gay blurbed it and says, "These stories vibrate with originality, queerness, sensuality, and the strange. These definitely have a lot of feminist undertones and are beautifully written." Also, for short stories, Amazon has so many collections of short stories that are available to read on Kindle Unlimited. So this one that I chose to talk about today is called Trespass. When nature gets up close and personal, it isn't always pretty. So this collection features the authors Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Jeff Vandermeer, Stephen Graham Jones, Karen Russell, Tochi Onyebuchi, I think is how you say that, and Carmen Maria Machado. I have read one from here. I have read the Stephen Graham Jones one, and that was like a cosmic horror. So these are always a good option. Like I said, they have so many. You can look through all of their collections and you'll definitely find something to read. So that is all of the horror recommendations that I have for you guys on Kindle Unlimited. I know that it was a lot, but as always, if you have any other horror recommendations on Kindle Unlimited, leave those down below in the comments for myself and others to read. With all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys next time.